Hey everybody, it's Chip Harris again. I wanted to get back with you on the real estate market and the overall macro economy as I see it and as I read about it. Just give you a quick synopsis of my thoughts on the economy as a whole, and it involves the real estate market as well. But I wanted to give you an analogy. When you think of the economy and we think of the housing market as a sub part of the economy, I kind of think of it as a balloon. It's like a balloon. So, when you blow up a balloon, you're putting air into it, and the balloon, the rubber balloon membrane continues to expand and expand. And then if you stop blowing into it, and it will retract, and then you blow more into it and it expands. So from a balloon perspective, our economy acts a lot like a balloon. When you're tying blowing a balloon up and you're done and you get it to the point where it's just before popping, but it's big enough to, hang around, put on a string or whatever, you tie it off so the air doesn't leak out of it. Well, the economy doesn't quite work that way. You just never tie it off. It just always has air going in and out and in and out. So it's expanding and contracting, expanding and contracting. And what you don't want it to do is you don't want to put so much air into the balloon that it just bursts, it pops. And so an analogy I'm using with this balloon thought process is what the Fed is doing right now from an economy perspective is they continued over the last really decade or more to put a lot of air into a balloon, our economy. So they pumped air and pumped air and pumped air, and it's gotten to the point now where it was close to a breaking point. But what they're doing at this point in time, instead of letting air out of the balloon and kind of retracting a little bit here and there to keep the balloon from popping, is what they're doing now is they're just taking a pin and sticking it. And so they're popping the balloon, but not necessarily even because they're putting too much money into the system or anything else. What they're doing is they're taking a pin and just popping this economic balloon that we massage and add and take away air from over the years and decades and centuries. And so to that end, the needle analogy is basically the rate at which they are increasing interest rates. And so we've talked about that a lot in our videos, and you hear about it a lot on the news. But as they continue to raise rates, and the prediction is they're going to raise rates again, probably twice before the end of this year, boosting rates further and further to try to tamp down inflation, because inflationary numbers come out tomorrow, big day. So we'll do another video regarding those numbers when they come out. But the prediction is it's still going to be over an 8% increase from a price perspective year over year, from September of last year to September of 2022. So you don't want prices increasing that much. They try to keep that target rate down around 2 to 2.5% versus the 8 to 9% where we have been for a good portion of this year, and probably still are there. Inflation, a lot of economists feel like are above that. A lot of economists feel like we're over 10% from a price increase perspective, depending on the products and services that you look at. From an inflationary perspective, everything's getting a little too expensive. So that's why the Fed wants to increase rates, slow the economy, slow spending, slow borrowing. But what they're really doing is they're hurting us in the short long term. I say short long term, meaning I call short long term 18 to 24 months. So it's way out there, but it's not a decade from now. And so at the pace they are increasing rates at this point in time, they are not allowing the space and time to let it take effect and then analyze what else they need to do from there. They're just raising rates. They're taking a sledgehammer to a glass table and they're breaking it. Or to use the balloon analogy, they're, instead of letting air out of the balloon to retract it, keep it from popping, they're just taking a pin and they're popping it. And it's going to snap and pop just like that. So that's where we are right now, and the Fed's creating that. The federal government policy is creating that, and we're going to be, in some hurting times over the next 18 to 24 months, which we keep talking about. But I always spin it to a positive side, and there is a positive side to it. And it's not really spin, but I like to just convert negativity over to positive. And the positive is, we always say this, when times are down, when real estate is down, when prices are down, it's a great time to invest. It's a great time to look for opportunities to invest at the right price. And that goes for not only real estate, which is what I'm, a part of, and I am certainly not a stockbroker or any kind of trader there, because you wouldn't want any kind of advice from me from a stock perspective or bond perspective. But it's the same thing. It's the same principle. You buy low, you sell high. You buy low, you sell high. Sometimes in real estate, you just never sell because it may be an income producing property. Or like a stock would be a dividend producing stock, for example. You may not want to ever sell that. So to that end, over the next 18, 24 months, I think there are going to be great opportunities for investors who have some dry powder and patience to pick up some opportunities and deals in the real estate market and any other trading market like equities or bonds. So to that end, keep an eye on the CPI numbers tomorrow. I think they're going to be over 8%. That's what the consensus is I'm reading and gathering, and we'll just have to see how high that is. So in the last video, we talked about the great employment numbers that came out. There's record low unemployment right now. We're at full employment, basically with a 3.5% unemployment rate, which is basically full employment. Anybody who wants a job has a job. And so that is an awesome number for a humming economy. But see, the Fed sees that as a negative because they want you to lose your job. They want people to feel insecure about their job so they don't go out and spend money and buy cars and houses and things. So that unemployment number being so low, which in my mind and probably most logical people's minds is a great thing for the economy and for the United States, the citizens of the United States, the Fed sees as a negative. And they want to increase unemployment. They want it to go up. Well, just like the unemployment rate, they see these inflation numbers not coming down, but hanging steady in the 8 to 9% category, maybe a little higher, and it scares them to death, and they're going to keep increasing interest rates and quantitative tightening is what they call it over the next at least several months, and hopefully they will pause in 2023, because I'm telling you, they're creating a train wreck. They are creating a train wreck, and in a lot of people's opinion, on purpose, to kill the economy and just drag us into the mud for about 2 years. And why? Because they don't want inflation to continue to be high or go higher, which I understand. But man, oh man, to take a sledgehammer to a glass table, or to use the balloon analogy, a pin to your balloon and popping it, I think it's just a matter you need to let air out and then breathe and see what happens from there, and then maybe a little more air out. It's just they're not taking that approach. It worries me. I think it worries a number of economists out there. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But until then, I'll talk to you next time.